Chanel, we need to get the energy up. Let's get it up.
I know.
Mine is up. I have a Diet Coke. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm
I don't
ready
want
to
to brag,
talk
but
about this book.
I am too because I got my little goblet of white wine to discuss it.
Um, Real fast, just my hot take. I went into this book blind, which is not that normal for me. I typically like look
So
up
did I.
spoilers and stuff, you know. I didn't realize it was,
Mhm.
and hopefully this isn't ruining anything because we're about to talk about the book, but I didn't realize it was a vampire book.
I didn't even. I had no idea. And wolves.
It
Wolves.
was Chanel. When that happened, I go,
Dude,
Chanel's screaming right
I
now.
was dying. I was dying.
Screaming. I was like,
I
oh
literally
no.
go, there's a werewolf.
Listen, listen.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? Kieran. I go, oh, there's Chanel's
What are you
husband.
talking? His name's Cass.
No,
No,
the
she's talking about
Wolven.
Oh
Karen, the
yeah, yeah,
woman.
I was like, that's Chanel's husband. No,
Yeah.
I was
Gives
like,
Jacob vibes.
after I realized it was a vampire novel, and then also the Wolven got into it, I was like, oh, this is why I love this book so much. It's like my favorite fantasy characters in
Yeah.
it.
All
It's
wrapped in one.
amazing.
yeah.
It's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, it was great. It was great.
There was literally something happening like every second of this book.
Yeah, it was so good. I loved it. I think that's why I liked it. We obviously, if you haven't listened to our episode with Jennifer Armentrout, the author, go back and listen to that because it was a great episode talking to her just about fantasy in general. But we kind of said that, and she mentions that that's kind of what she wanted. Her goal in writing is to like have you anticipating every chapter, and I totally felt that. Like every single chapter, I was like, I want to read more. I want to like it kept you like mini cliffhangers the entire book, and I love that. It wasn't versus no offense to Akatar, it was not like that with Akatar. Like I definitely took time in between like certain
Yeah.
points in the book versus like I felt I guess with both books we've read two of them or I've read two of them now. The end is where it really like grips you. I feel in both of the Akatar books. It's very much a slow beginning in both of those books, but from Blood and Ash just grips you. I felt like the entire time. So,
Yeah.
I agree. And you know, I typically feel like I'm a slow burn kind of person, but then I read something like this and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not because the first chapter, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you want to get
Yeah.
into it?
Yeah, you want to introduce it and stuff then,
Yeah.
Stace? Or?
So as we've been talking about, which hopefully our listeners know, today is the book episode for From Blood and Ash by the lovely Jennifer L. Armentrout. So we're going to be doing a quick summary of the book, some parts we liked, and then just kind of discuss a little bit. Which there's so much that we could talk about in this book. Could easily be more than one episode, but it's excellent. So we'll just jump right in. Our main character and a very well-written protagonist is Poppy. You literally hit the ground running. Like Chanel said, with some of our other fantasy books, with which no shade, you kind of like tip your toe into it and stuff. And this like the first two chapters, you just like dive in. So we get a lot of information in the beginning. We don't necessarily I didn't necessarily understand everything that was like coming our way at first. So I'm sure if I went back and reread, like I'd probably get more. But Poppy is a maiden and she has snuck out and she is at like a bar brothel kind of place. She's playing cards and she has snuck out of the castle and she's hidden her face, which doesn't seem like an uncommon thing in this setting, this universe where people would be wearing face coverings and stuff. So people won't know who she is. And she's trying to live life. We kind of get that she lives in the castle. She's not really allowed to do anything. So she's sneaking out to live life. So some of the guards show up in this tavern. So with the help of this lady there, she sneaks up to like the top floor to hide out in what she thinks is an empty room. And we're like, immediately we meet Hawke. And I was immediately in love, obviously.
Yeah, it's great.
It was great. The banter is great right off the bat. He was already in there. He's expecting someone else, we think, to like hook up with. And part of the reason she's out is that she's never had like a physical connection with someone kissed anyone, sex, all that thing. So they have this like quick, witty banter. They kiss. There's a little feeling. It's very intense. It's very spicy. And then Hawke is summoned away by one of his friends at the door, and he's like, "I'm gonna come back. Wait here." And of course she doesn't. She like scampers on back to the castle. But what did you guys think of reading the first few chapters and all that?
I was like, dang, we're already getting into some smut. I mean,
Yeah, like it was
wasn't
smutty.
really- yeah, but I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Like you said, I love Hawke.
It was
Oh.
good because, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ash.
I was just agreeing. I love it. And I love how how the author just throws you into the universe, lets you figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was nice that there was a little bit of all that sprinkled in, like the intrigue, the spice, and all that, because then we kind of get the background information, some more info on these characters. So Poppy is this maiden. She's chosen the like class system of Soulless, that's how you say it, right? Soulless is the town. It's Solis. That's how I was saying it in my head, but
yeah, but like Macedonia is the city.
Okay, yeah. And
I think Solus is like the kingdom.
Okay, yeah, the kingdom. So in this kingdom, the ascended are the royalty. You think king and queen who rule over them, and she is like a favorite of the queen. And these maidens have to remain pure. They stay within the castle. Poppy's not really allowed to interact with other people a whole lot. She has her own guard.
Just to wear a veil.
Yeah, she has to wear a veil, cover her face, cover her body, just very kept away from society. They want her to remain pure for this ascension, which is basically the ascended, which are the royalty and the court, the king and the queen, have been chosen by God to ascend into this. And as a maiden, she'll get the chance to ascend too in a year because she's been chosen.
And it means like being separated. So there's like mortals, and you're when you ascend, you become like higher than these mortals. You become like what we eventually figure out is like you have like you can die, but it's a lot harder to die essentially when you become an ascended. And like you said, it just separates you from this mortality life where you don't have to like be working class anymore. And so it's supposed to be like it's seen as this like gift or whatever.
Yeah. And like you said, you can live thousands of years, they say, if you take care of yourself. And almost immediately we're introduced to the idea that Poppy's not necessarily thrilled about being chosen to do this. We learn that her parents were killed in a Craven attack, which this is what we learned first off is like the bad guys of this universe. So the Craven are these, we actually don't learn a whole lot about them, these creatures that come with the mist and they attack people. And if you're attacked by a Craven or bitten, then you can turn into one. So it's like a death sentence all around.
Yeah.
We learned that
lust seeking creatures.
Yeah. So that was like the first time I'm like, so are these like the vampires, kind of like the bad vampires.
Zombie kind of, you don't like you said, because they turn into they turn. So you're like, okay, we didn't know they were vampires. So I was like, are they zombies? Are they vampires?
Yeah.
All you knew is that they turned humans into them. So, yeah. So you were just like, okay, what are they really? You're kind of figuring them out. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you're right. And that's what's kind of interesting about reading this too, is there's not like a lot of hand holding with like describing this stuff. We kind of get just dropped in the story and figure it out.
Yeah.
So we learn through Poppy, the head of her guard, Victor is like a father figure for her. And so we learn pretty soon that not only that's the first time she snuck out to this brothel, but she has snuck out with Victor before. He's trained her to visit people in the town these mortals who have been attacked by Craven. And she has this magic ability where she can feel people's emotions, especially their grief. And I like how they distinguish like physical pain as like being red hot, where she can also feel people's grief, which is more of like this cold, icy feeling. So she goes with Victor. There's been a Craven attack, and she goes to this lady's house, and her husband there, and he's been sick for like 2 days, which is a long time. We learn to not turn. He's slowly going to turn into a craven. And so through Poppy, she helps ease his pain with her powers. We get to see that. And then we learn the only way to kill the craven is to kill them with a special dagger through the heart or the back of the head, like a headshot. And we also learn in that scene that the only person who has survived a craven attack and not turned is Poppy. She has like scars on her face and on her body from the attack that killed her parents. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, kind of just gives a little history about her, and like she's not as, I guess, pure as everyone thinks, or
yeah,
a little rebellious, which I really liked about her.
Yeah, breaking the rules.
She's rebellious right off the bat, which I love, and very compassionate. That whole scene, which is a great way to show how empathetic she is and how much she wants to help, but also like sets up the background for who the Craven are, the Ascended. And so we get like our toes stepped into the world a little bit at first.
And you kind of see right off the bat, like right in the beginning too, that the Ascended aren't super kind, because these people that are attacked by Craven, they like murder them in front of everybody by setting them on fire, which is like what Poppy and Victor are doing. It's like death by dignity is what they call it. And they kill these people in private, and so they're not burned alive in front of everybody in like the town square or something, the way that it's described.
Yeah,
which is terrible.
Bad vibes right off the bat.
Well, yeah, I was like, this kind of goes a little bit further into like the story, but like it also goes to show like the Ascended's like character, right? So we have the Duke and the Duchess, who are like there in the town, not just the Queen, that are like ruling at this castle, and them as well as the other like lords and ladies. You're right, Ashley. Like they really don't have this compassion or like love for their people, even though they claim they do. When not only like how they treat Craven attacks and people who were attacked by Cravens, because it happens again later in like, I want to say about a third of the way in the book, there's another attack actually on the castle, right? And so many of like the sentinels and soldiers that are like trying to defend the castle end up dying. So many of like the townsfolk end up dying, and instead, and like while all the funerals are going on, there's like tons of funerals because there's whatever tens and hundreds of people that have died. First of all, the Ascended never go out to like try to protect the castle, or the rise is what they call it. Whereas we see, like, we can talk about this, Poppy actually goes, and even though she's like a mortal, she goes out to like defend, even though these Ascended are less likely to die because they're quicker, stronger, faster. So you're like, okay, even though you have like more talent or whatever skill than a normal person, you don't want to defend your people. Right. And then after all of your people die in this attack, you're like heartless about it. Like when you see during all the funerals, like you said, they just like throw everyone in a pyre and then burn them alive and say like a little prayer and it's over. You know what I mean? Like it's so cold how they treat like I said, like the people that they're supposed to be ruling and have compassion over, versus we see how, like I said, how Poppy kind of reacts to all of this, where she literally goes out into the battlefield, is killing all these Craven, and then she wants to go to the funerals of like everyone, even though she's not supposed to. Like her job as the Maiden is like she's forbidden to go, and it just shows like the difference between her and these Ascended that are like put on these pedestals. So I thought that was really interesting. So
yeah, it is. I mean, and I think right off the bat, I was like, obviously this is setting up that they're not great people. We learn more about how the Duke and a certain lord treat Poppy that's just like terrible later, later on. But then we get to mention, like, when they talk about the Craven, there's this other group of people called the Atlanteans, who they say have pretty much been wiped out. And there was this big war hundreds of years ago between them to like who was going to rule this kingdom.
It was between
basically.
the Ascended and the Atlanteans, yeah.
And everyone's told that the Craven come from the Atlanteans as like a punishment from the gods for this war, that the Ascended were favored by the gods, and all this has happened because of this. So basically this whole kingdom's built up by fear, these people and the ruling class and everything that's happened. So off the bat, I was like, well, we all know how that goes when you like try to rule a whole kingdom by fear and everyone's afraid of you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then, like you said, and then like now you see starting to pop up throughout the book is these people, like the lower class citizens, who are semi like rebelling to start supporting this broken empire, the Atlanteans, and they're called deserters. And obviously they're not seen as favorable because they're outspoken against the Ascended, right? Like and so like if you like you're scared to like convalesce with a deserter because they could be thrown in jail or be killed on the spot, right? Like there's no trials for anyone when you're seen as a deserter. So.
And these deserters follow
I think is it
the
deserters? I think
the
it's
dark one, yeah.
I think they're called something else.
Oh, sorry, the dissenters.
Dissenters, yeah.
Sorry,
dissenters.
Dissenters.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Dissenters.
They follow the dark one, which sounded hot to me as soon as I heard it. Obviously, I was all about it.
Stacey's immediately like, I like him.
Immediately.
No, I was thinking like, is this Lord Voldemort?
Oh God.
Didn't faze me. I was like, still about it.
He actually, Tom Riddle was he was smoking back in the day. So
they found they made him look really attractive. So
we're not gonna lie. That. He was smoking. He was smoking like his cauldron back in Slughorn's class.
He was.
But then he got a snake face, and we're not gonna talk about that. But
lost his nose. Anyways,
lost that nose.
So back into the plot. So Poppy's back, whatever, from her adventure. We saw her sneak out again with Victor. We learned that Victor's been her guard for a long, long time, father figure. She's a badass. Not only does she care about people, she'll kill you too. Like win, 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 win. She actually wears the dagger Victor gave her, like strapped to her thigh at all times, which is super hot. Loved it. Loved the visual. So we also get introduced her to one of her other guards is with her all the time. That's Rylan. And he doesn't make it very long. They're out at the garden at night. She likes looking at these certain flowers, and he gets shot by an arrow by these not deserters. Jesus. Dissenters. But I'm also saying dessert in my head. Now I want dessert, but
isn't that a Game of Thrones thing? Dissenter or isn't that when people leave? Deserters. I mean, from Game of Thrones. Isn't that like what are those people called with Jon Snow at the wall when they would like?
Oh yeah. When
I think that's why we're wanting to say because it's like a Game of Thrones word. Anyways,
yeah, you're probably right. So they're out here. Rylan gets killed, and then we get introduced to another type of creature, and these are the Wolven, which I knew Chanel would fucking love, like immediately. They're like these giant werewolf type things.
Yeah, they're like a werewolf.
Yeah, they're a werewolf. But so they're trying to get her. They're trying to get Poppy. So they kill Rylan. They think she's just like some fair, well-mannered maiden, and she beats this guy's ass. Like she won't go easily. He runs off. He's pretty much like, I'm gonna get you, like do all these terrible things, and she's like, fucking try it, bro. Like that's pretty much.
She's so crazy. I love it.
I know, she's crazy.
She's like back talking to this dude that tried to kill her. I loved it.
Yeah, no fear. Like, yeah. So.
Sorry, I just had to say it.
No, say it.
I was laughing out loud because she meets this guy later on in the book, and then he's like again, he's like, I'm gonna get you, and she's like, I got two hands, because at the end, one of his hands gets cut off, and he has a stump, and she was like, come get me, I got two hands. I like literally cracked up at that part. I was like, she did not just say that. because he was like smirking at her, and she goes, "I got two hands," and then his smirk like went off
Went
his face.
away.
I just love it so much.
I laughed out loud literally at that part. I was like, she is a fucking bitch. I love it so
Well,
much.
because these guys, they just think that they're like that she's nothing because she's like
Yeah.
this mortal type person, and she
Yeah.
is just like so sassy about
She is
everything. I
so
love
sassy. It
it.
was
I
hilarious.
love it. Yeah. Well, also like Chanel said, when she's like shit talking because like she took his hand or whatever, he's also like, "Do you remember what I said I was gonna do?" Like trying to scare her. She's like, "Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, blah.
you're gonna rip out my entrails and like
And
Uh-huh.
bathe
eat
in
me
my
slowly." Yeah.
blood, blah
She's
blah
like,
blah.
She
"Let's
literally
go."
like just back talking him so much, dude. It was hilarious. Oh my God. Anyway,
That's
okay.
why I mean, I just the way that's why I liked her character so much. It was just very refreshing because she is pulling against what society expects of her as this maiden. She's questioning it. She's obviously very intelligent. She's been trained and she's smart and she has this empathy and she's got this smart ass mouth. And just like the dream combination, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's already one of my
yeah,
favorite characters.
written very
Mhm.
well. Yes. It was awesome.
So once Rylan bites it, which is really sad, she goes to his funeral, even though everyone's like she
Did you
shouldn't.
have to say bites it? Like he literally
He died. But
when you said he bites it, like
He bites
he got
it.
he took the dirt nap. He's gone. It is sad. It is sad. She really
that
liked
was
It
him.
is sad. And then the dude keeps calling
wait,
him Ryan or
the
something.
pun.
Yeah.
He said
The
he
pun.
bites it and then he got died by a werewolf.
Mhm. And the Duke is such an asshole. He keeps calling him Ryan and it's pissing her off,
No.
Yeah, that
which
was
I
fun.
also love her for. But then we get Hawk comes back. God, he comes back obviously to be her personal guard, which this is when also I was like, something's up because it's
Yeah.
mentioned a couple
Yeah.
times that he like jumped really high in the line. It's a big deal to be her
Red
bodyguard.
flags. He was
Mhm.
giving me red flags, but like in a good way.
But like
He
the
was-
best kind of red flags. Like, can you bring those red
It was
flags
like
around
it was
here?
orange flags. It was orange
Yeah.
flags. Like not totally red. But I mean I literally have notes about him that I was like, because he was like there was alarm bells ringing in my head about
Mhm.
him, and I like wrote down notes about he was just making me suspicious. But I liked him, but I was like, something's up with this dude. And so the revelation at the end, the plot twist at the end, wasn't really a plot twist for me because
Yeah.
but I liked it. It still was like anyway, go ahead.
I mean, it wasn't
knew-
a plot twist for me either because I looked it up. Spoilers,
Same.
but I think I would have maybe guessed it. Yeah.
I was telling Stacey though, like I had mentioned it, I did kind of like after I started reading, I did kind of look it up because
You looked it up?
I did, but listen,
You
this
guys are terrible.
listen why it's good that I looked it up though, because reading this book I didn't know like all of it, but I kind of knew a little bit of it. She does such a Jennifer does such a nice job of like sprinkling it in there, and like if you
Yeah.
read it again once you know, it's like almost like how did I not see
Yeah,
this
how did
coming?
I not know?
But it's
Mhm.
not so in your face that it's ruined.
It's so not in your face. Like I
Yes,
didn't
but
know
it's so
Yeah.
well done.
I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was something there. Does that make sense? Like
Yes.
I didn't know, I didn't say to myself, I mean, let's talk about it. I didn't say to myself, he's an Atlantean, he's the dark one. I didn't
No,
say
Yeah.
no, and
no. But I said something's up with this guy.
Yeah.
Like there is something not right with him. She needs to like be on the lookout because
well,
there's something not right. Like I had all this list, but like at the same time, like Stacey said, she didn't tell us anything about the Atlanteans. All
Nothing.
we knew
Yeah.
was that they were extinguished, that they were semi kind of like the Ascended,
Mhm.
which again, we don't know much about the Ascended. We don't
Mhm.
know much. We knew the Wolven were like wolves. We knew the Cravens were kind of like a zombie thing. So it's like I had all of these, like I said, all of these
Mhm.
traits I knew about him that I was like, okay, red flags, red flags, red flags. But
Yeah.
like, what do they lead to? I couldn't even tell you. Like, at least here, I was like, oh, he could be a serial killer, maybe. I don't know. But like you said, if you go back, you could be like, oh yeah, duh. I could tell he was the dark one or whatever.
I looked it up, but like not so much. I didn't know like all the details. I just knew that he was somebody he wasn't saying he was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was like an Atlantean. I just knew he was not. But like he kept not being at places when stuff was happening. I was like, hello. Like, you know what I mean? Shit's going down. He's just magically gone every
Yeah.
single time.
Every
Anyways.
time.
Yeah. Did you like catch that?
I looked it up after the I think after he became her guard. I was like, well, this is convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like all of a
Mhm.
sudden that, and
Yeah.
then I
He
kind of looked it up.
suddenly, yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I would not have known she did a nice job with the Atlantean thing. We're jumping ahead,
Mhm.
sorry, Stace, but like
Oh, jump ahead.
giving enough information on what it was, but not enough to where you think that that's where this story is going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I personally, even though I like looked at the spoilers, I, like Ashley said, I knew that he was someone he wasn't. I didn't necessarily know that he was going to be the Atlantean or the Dark One. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know he was going to be the dark one because
No,
that
Yeah.
seems so obvious. Like, oh, okay, let's be right under our noses the whole time. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, I was like, because every time they were kissing, I guess
Mhm.
I was like,
Let's talk about it.
he would never let her. She would always be like, I'm trying to like touch his teeth. He would never let her touch his teeth, which, obviously he has like fangs, right? He would always stop that. He was super fast. Like the first time he caught her out in the battle with the Craven, he was trying to like stop her and he like fucking scaled a wall in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay, what just happened? How did you do that? And then, like you said, he was never at all of the places like when the dissenters and the Cravens attacked during the right. Like he wasn't there, just so happened to be. I was like, okay, where the hell is this dude at? Like, I don't know. It's just like a whole bunch. His eyes were like super amber, like lighting up, changing, going super dark. And I'm like,
He could see things she couldn't
he
see.
could see
Yeah,
things.
like under the willow.
He was very observant.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thing I put down. He was very observant. Like when they were at some ceremony or something, there was a dissenter that was like coming through the crowd and he like caught on to that guy before anyone else even knew that
Yeah.
he was like about like when he threw that Craven hand up and obviously noticed things about Poppy and stuff. I was like, yeah, this dude's like superhuman. I was like, yeah, he's something's up with this guy.
Something's up. And she thinks that she's being all sneaky. She thinks that he doesn't know it's her from the very first chapter. Like, and we learn that he knew it was her the whole time.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're not sly, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But they're relationship buds. They have great banter. They get to know each other. I love that he calls her princess. Which, looking back now that we know who he's at the end, it's kind of funny that he calls her princess, right? Because he's a fucking prince. Like, duh. Anyway,
but I loved that.
One scene I wanted to touch on, so we know, not only does she not necessarily like living so close to the Ascended, they also literally physically abuse her. Like the Duke and this lord who's a dick. They cane her.
That scene was so hard to read.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I'm going to say is I'm glad it was just caning because I thought it was going to be more like
essay or
sexual.
something.
Yeah, I was like, so not that physical abuse is
no
any less, but I thought it was going to be more. I was like, I can't take this. Please don't let it be. But yeah, the physical abuse was just terrible, and then obviously it's like mentally as well, because
and you can tell those two assholes totally enjoyed it. And like you said, I'm glad there wasn't like any kind of like physical, like as in SA stuff, but she's also almost naked when they're watching it happen. So for them, there's definitely like that element to it.
Yeah, there's still an element to it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think now that I think about it, I guess there couldn't have been a sexual component because she is the maiden. And I'm sure that at some point she probably would have had to like, which is again so disgusting, have been like checked for her purity to like see. I don't know if that'll happen in the next book or something now that she isn't a virgin, but whatever. Anyway.
Whatever. We love it.
But yeah, that was just absolutely awful. And like
it was
she's
terrible.
Ashamed of it. And like it's literally sickening. It's so gross. Like
But don't worry, they fucking get theirs, dude. Like,
Yes.
in the best way.
I know.
So we jump forward a little bit, and they're at this rite, which is part of the ceremony building up to the actual her ascending. Everyone wears red. It's like a ball, kind of. She gets to wear red. She doesn't have to wear her mat. Not that anyone really knows who she is anyway. They never see her face, but she's really excited to have a normal experience. And this was also like a clue as to like, okay, like something's going on, because she sneaks out with Hawke. This is so great though, under the willow tree during this rite. And they have like just very convenient that like she's distracted. They're making out. It's super hot. Like, and then the whole rite is
It's like,
attacked.
okay, let's talk about this. This is a
Okay.
very intimate moment. Like they have their, I guess it's technically their second kiss,
Yeah.
but it's the first time like when
Knowing each other.
yeah,
Like actually knowing each other.
yeah. But it was also very intimate in like another like a mental way.
Yeah.
Where they just like cuddle afterwards and like talk and yeah, it was like very sweet. Like I really liked it. I don't know, it was very sweet. So yeah. Anyway, okay, that's all I want to say.
No, it was sweet. I like the idea of it being outside under the willow too. It was romantic.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's all I want to say.
Do you want to add anything, Ash?
It's one of my favorite scenes. She's like sitting in his lap, and
Yeah.
she takes away some of his pain at some point because he like opens up about something. It's a very emotionally connecting and like
About his
physically
brother.
connecting, scene. His brother.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
So
it.
it was sweet on both ends.
I didn't want to gloss over it because I know it's a great scene. I just get excited that fucking Duke gets impaled
I was
with
gonna
his
say
cane.
the other scene we'll talk about the right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So but when this happened, I was like, well, clearly he did it. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, he's just conveniently not here for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we're like, oh, so it wasn't him because he was making out with Poppy. But then we learned like, who knows how long he was actually up there for. You know what I mean? Like the Duke.
Well, yes. So, okay. So during the actual ceremony, before they start making out, the Duke's not present at all. It's just the Duchess like hosting everyone. And everyone's like, where's the Duke? And people are thinking that Poppy's thinking he's interrogating. Remember, I said that's the center throne, that Craven hand. She's thinking, well, he's probably with that prisoner. He was supposed to be interrogating him, blah, blah, blah. So like Poppy was just thinking, oh, the Duke's probably, with him or whatever. And at the same time, like you said, Hawke's not there as her personal guard. It was just Victor there guarding her during that ceremony, right? Then they go make out, then they come back from making out, and I believe this is when they're greeted by Victor, who's upset.
Pissed.
Like, why are you guys making out? You look like lovers, all this stuff. You know who you are, who she is, blah, blah, blah. So then he sends Hawke away and releases him from his duty for the night. They go into the hall. The second they step into the hall is when chaos forms. Everyone, like Craven's attack, Dissenters attack. Are Wolvins there too?
They don't say that there's.
I don't think so.
If they are, they're not in that form. There. Yeah.
Yes. But basically it's mass chaos. They're getting all the people ascended, as well as like lords and ladies and their their ladies in waiting or whatever, the people of the court are getting attacked in their red ball gowns and finery, are getting attacked in this hall, and Poppy and Victor are there, and they're trying to like fight off these cravens and stuff. And at the same time, you see like this like banner being fall.
It's not funny, but yeah.
And underneath it is the Duke, who has been like pinned to the wall.
Impaled,
impaled by a cane.
The cane.
His cane, which he also uses on Poppy. And so
like immediately I saw it and I said, well, he did it.
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
this,
I couldn't even
let's,
think about that because
yeah.
I was reading so fast because I wanted to see what else was happening. But then after the
So
fact,
much happens. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
their emotional scene, the making out, that happens. Then the attack, then them hiding. So then Poppy's with the Duchess, with Victor. They're like other
I know
like
what the fuck,
people.
the stupid Dutch. Okay,
I
sorry.
know.
Yeah.
She is so
She's
dumb.
stupid. So then she's like, we're gonna wait in this building, like
In
the
this
Doesn't
Ascended
tiny
are now
room.
gonna help. You know
she
what I
doesn't
mean?
and she asked for like wine or something, right?
She asked for rum.
Or like, yeah, no big deal. People are just dying.
So they
She's
like
like,
camp
anyone want
out.
one?
They camp out in this room. It's
Hmm.
Poppy, Victor, this Lord who also is this masochist, and then
Yeah.
Duchess, and then her best friend Tawny,
Tawny.
Poppy's best
Hmm.
friend Tawny, and then I don't know, maybe oh, it's like they're soldiers, they're royal guard.
Yeah.
And
And
while
then,
this attack is still going on,
yeah, she's like, it's fine. Pretty much then she says the Ascended are now going to help because it's dire. And it's like, why aren't they always helping? Because then she's not worried, but they still break through, like these people
Mhm.
trying to get to them. And it's really sad. Victor dies. It's really, really sad. It's really heartbreaking. He's a great character. He clearly cares for her in a sense as like a person and wants her to be safe and trains her. And so he dies protecting her. And it sends her, she fucking loses it, dude.
I love
Like,
it. I love it.
I mean, I'm here for it. Women's rights, women's wrongs. We know
I
it.
support
Like,
their rights and their wrongs, and I definitely supported this. So
it was
so like,
crazy. Well, but
it
then
was.
literally he dies, and then Hawk shows up like
Yeah,
a
immediately.
second later.
immediately. And yeah, go ahead.
No,
So
I'm not gonna steal from Stacey. Say what she does when she snaps.
So then this is why I love this because sometimes, which is not a fault, there's always like this reason why the hero or heroine does something and it might be considered bad. And because of the reason they're doing it, we don't really care. You know what I mean? Like their life's in danger, blah, blah, blah. The fighting done. Like they've
Yeah.
won. They're all chilling out. She's so pissed. That fucking Lord makes some kind of crack. She murders his ass. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like
that's why I
chops him
love
up.
like
I pictured it in slow motion when I was reading it. Just her like raging out, just slow motion. Just she like slices like body parts off
yeah,
his
like his
head.
arm, his head.
Yeah, literally.
And Hawk loves it. You know he loves it. I loved
Well, he
it.
didn't stop, or he probably should have.
No, nobody stopped her. Nobody liked that guy. Everybody was like, "Thank God."
Dude, even the Duchess was like, well, I don't really care. You're not going to get in trouble. No one really liked him. I didn't even like my husband. Who cares? He died too.
It was, yeah, that's when it's like, okay. Like,
Okay.
it was
Also,
bad.
I love it because I don't know if we've mentioned it. Hawk always says that she loves violence this whole time, which I love because she does. She likes it. Yeah.
Crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
So
That part was nuts. I mean, the whole middle part of the book, you're just like that whole section. So obviously after that happens, they're like, Poppy's no longer safe here. Clearly this happened because they're trying to get to her. The Dark One wants her. They want the Maiden to punish the Ascended. So their big plan is that they're going to move her to where the king and the queen are, so she's safer.
mhm.
Which in my head, I'm like, she's been attacked twice in your castle. So you think it's going to be safer to send her on like a week trek through the woods with 5 guards. Like,
Yeah.
but, so of course, Hawk's going to go with her. Tawny can't go, which is sad because it's her only friend. She's still reeling from Victor dying. She's very upset, obviously. And they pretty much load her up. And this is the first chance, like part in the book, we get to really see outside of the kingdom and into this forest, which is nuts when they describe it in the book, how you picture it.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I just am like, I know it has to be from plot, but I was like, why? Why wouldn't you just like camp out before the forest or like after? Like, why do you have to camp out in the middle of this? It's called the Blood Forest, which
Yeah.
is where like the Cravens live, and where these like giant rats, like they're not normal size, they're like 20 pounds.
I gotta pause you real quick. Ashley, back me up on this because Chanel's not watched the movie. Did you not instantly think of the fire swamp from Princess Bride? And
Yes.
And when he's like fighting that thing like this for her in it, right?
I did. It was amazing.
I was just like, okay, can we not plan this out better? Like, okay, how about we stop for the night here outside the
Yeah.
forest, hike through the forest, and then make it out alive? No, we're gonna spend the night in this like this
Yeah.
forest that has no sunlight because the
None.
trees are so densely, populated, and the leaves are blood red. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like, but I know it's all for plot, like, obviously.
Yeah. But it was scary.
It's very scary. And of course they get attacked because plot.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a
So,
crazy attack.
but we also have to talk about, I just want to like drop it in here how hot it is. She can't, so they have to camp out in the forest, like Chanel said, because the plot called for it and we need this to happen. And she can't sleep because they can't have a fire because it'll attract cravens and these fucking giant boar rat things. So Hawke helps her go to sleep. And I was just like,
yeah, but is this scene wrong? No, you always sleep better. So like, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but I was just like, I was like, honestly, I love it. Like, I freaking love some voyeurism, exhibitionism. Like, that's what I type in my AO3 tag. So I freaking, but at the same time, I'm like, you're gonna do it with a guard 10 feet away.
I thought this was hotter than the scene in the end later. Seriously, I thought this scene was so hot.
Yeah, I freaking loved it. But I'm like, you're gonna do it.
She even says it. She's like, there are people right there. He's pretty much like, who cares? I was like, okay, here we buckle up. Here we go.
Strap it in.
I freaking loved it. But at the same time, I'm like, this is not realistic, but I loved it.
So he helps her go to sleep and she sleeps so well.
Because he's a gentleman, Chanel. He's a prince, okay?
I freaking loved it. I freaking loved it. Especially, it also makes it even funnier when you know that these are non-mortal guards. These are heightened senses guards.
They can hear everything.
Dude,
they can hear and see everything.
And
Hawke
smell.
knows it. At least Poppy doesn't know, but Hawke fucking knows. He's like, I don't care. I want them to know.
I want them to know.
Kieran's a werewolf. He can smell everything.
Tell Cersei it was me.
I fucking love it anyway. Okay. Hilarious.
Okay. Sorry. So like Chanel says, of course they get attacked. And sorry, I can't stop thinking about it. Okay, so they get attacked, and they end up, getting away. Poppy gets away. They all get away. And they end up at this town that's very isolated, kind of deserted, and they're gonna stay there for the night and have an actual meal and get warm. And immediately you're like, well, this is fish. They're all acting weird. There's not a lord ruling over, or like,
well, they lie and say they're somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though, I'm like one of these stupid people, I guess. I didn't see it coming. I was just like, oh, okay, this is
well, you're not stupid, because I really didn't either. The only thing that made me really clue into it that something was weird is she mentions in her head or out loud that there's no banners hung up or anything.
Oh, yeah,
that's when I was like, oh, like there's no banners supporting the Ascended or the kingdom or whatever.
Oh yeah, like to support, like whichever way they were,
like
whichever kingdom they were for or something. The only thing that I didn't read anything into it either until that guard Phillips. It's always gonna be the black guy that's gonna be knowing what's going on. And he was like, are you, like, he kind of told her, are you by yourself? And she didn't believe him. He was like, that Hawke guy is suspicious, that Kieran guy is suspicious, like all of her guards. And she didn't believe him. She's like, no, I trust Hawke. And I was like, no. All of his suspicions are totally correct because they were all of my suspicions. And I was like, and she's like, no, if I trust Hawke, then I trust his guy. And he's like, and literally, like he said, he's like, well, Hawke specifically asked for all of these guards, this Kieran guy, this, I can't remember what the other guy's name was. God, why am I blanking on his name? But there was a couple other guys.
Yeah.
They ended up dying. But he was like, none of those guys were ever like known in the Capitol. No, like they just randomly showed up because Hawke asked for them. He's like, and whereas we knew this Phillips guy from like chapter 1 and Pop knew him. And I'm like, why don't you trust him versus, and I know obviously like
Yeah.
we all like Hawke, and he like I did trust him and stuff, but I'm like he's making sense, and yet you're not gonna trust him, and like at least
Yeah.
consider his words. And that's when alarm bells started ringing in my head.
Yeah. Well,
And
also
then
even before that, like basically she trusts Hawke because they end up having sex. So they
yeah,
have sex.
yeah.
But even after they done having sex and Hawke is leaving the room, he's like, I just want you to remember this moment, no matter what
Okay,
happens.
that you're right. That was the moment when things clicked in my head. I said, he's not who he says he is. That's literally the moment it clicked. I said, he's not who he claims he is. The second
Mhm.
if he said, whenever anything else changes, remember this moment. I'm like, oh, shit's about to change.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you though, when Phillips, this poor guy, he is like just like spitting straight facts about like how none of this adds up. Like
Yeah.
how, and then she's still like, no. And I'm like, I feel so bad for this guy. One, because I was like, he's probably going to die.
Yeah.
He's the only one making sense. He's just trying to save people and get him out
Yeah.
of here. And everybody's just like not listening. Even when Kieran turns into the freaking Wolven, she's like, oh, well, he's right. Phillips is right about Kieran, but not about
Hawke.
Hawke.
I
Yeah.
I was
know.
like, okay, girl, like
I
no.
know. I know. That's what I was like, yeah, no sympathy for you, but whatever.
But
And
honestly,
then
that's the most realistic part in the book
Mhm.
because if someone is that good at sex, they can do anything and it'll warp your mind.
Stacey, now stop.
That's the most realistic part in the whole book. It's true.
but I think not okay. You're right and wrong. I think not just about like sex, but like I think like when you're so in love or devoted and obviously having sex with someone, like you're you have these blinders on to them,
Yeah.
right? And so she ends up talking about this later when you find out that Hawke is Atlantean. You find out that he's the Dark One. He starts like revealing all this stuff, and she's like, how did I not see it? How did like, I'm so betrayed. And like her heart, she's like, oh, I feel like I have this wound in my heart and all this stuff. And you're like, well, yeah, but also like one, you've been so isolated your whole life, been
Yeah.
so like secluded, and you kind of said, Stacey, like she's just yearning for like some connection with someone, not just physically, like emotionally and like intellectually. And so he did really like almost like manipulate her. I mean, like I think it was
Yeah.
real. I think it was genuine, but also
Yeah.
like he slipped in there. He like filled that gap that she was like actually looking for. And she always said like she wants to like experience something, wants to have adventure and
Yeah.
a relationship, a connection. And so of course she wasn't even looking, even though
Yeah.
she was with everyone else. Like she was so blinded to things she
Mhm.
probably normally would have looked for. And, and so it's sad, but I think it is realistic in that regard, because you do
Yeah.
that with a normal person, which is how in real life someone ends up cheating on you, murdering you, doing terrible things to you because you don't
Yeah.
believe, that they could be an awful
Yeah.
person.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I
Anyway.
agree. Yeah.
So
Anyway.
no, seriously. So then, like you guys were saying, when Ashley was saying, Philip's the only one who's like spitting these facts, and she is
Nobody cares.
Yeah, she's like just in it too deep, like Chanel said with Hawke. Pretty much, she doesn't believe it until Hawke is literally telling her, like, "Oh, by the way,
She doesn't believe
I'm
it until Phillips is murdered. And then she's like,
yeah."
oh,
I know.
okay.
I
Poor
know.
Phil,
Which
poor
and
Phillips.
literally it's terrible how he's murdered. So like
Yeah,
Kieran turns into a wolf, starts attacking them. They are in like a barn. They're this
they're in a
barn.
barn. Yeah,
And she's like surrounded, of course, that his name's Jericho, the original wolf that, tried to attack her way back when.
that asshole.
He comes back. And so she's like, okay, he's here. Now Kieran's a wolf. And then Hawke comes in and she's like, why are you with these guys? Because they're now they're listening to him. And he's like, back off, don't hurt her. And she's like, what's going on? And then next thing you know, Hawke fucking like impales this Phillips dude like against, and she's like, what's happening?
Which
I feel bad for him, you guys.
I
Oh
know.
yeah, totally. But at the same time, I'm like, how the fuck is that your clue? You've had all these clues, and you have to see this guy that you love kill this guy, and you couldn't have caught on like, maybe
Yeah,
5 minutes earlier.
She was blinded by
the
The
dick.
dick.
the dick.
Yeah, which I'm sure was large. They hinted it that it was. And he's only been alive thousands of years. He knows how to use it. You know what I mean? Like,
Excuse me. I can't with you.
Stop.
And it's like he's got what is it's not a tattoo. He's like in the royal crest is like
Branded.
branded on it. That's what it is. It's like
Mhm.
branded on his thigh or something like that. I don't even know. Anyway, that was funny when he was like, "You didn't see that? You were too busy looking at my thigh."
and it's like, yes, sir. Yes, that's
She's
what
like,
happened.
what else would I be looking at? Anyway, good.
So, I mean, but then this happens. And so we've kind of, like we were talking earlier, we don't really know anything about the Ascended. We definitely don't know anything about the Atlanteans. We're kind of just rolling with the punches. We literally get it all laid out from Hawke
Mhm.
when she's
No,
imprisoned.
he
And
tells her.
it's fucking, and she doesn't want to believe him, but I'm like, girl, why is he gonna lie now? So
I know.
basically, he's saying that the Ascended are evil, which fucking
Shocker.
shock of the century.
It's like, okay, like,
Given a-
how is that a jump? Because when have they ever been nice? You
yeah,
know what
to
I
Yeah.
mean?
anybody.
To
I know.
you,
And
Poppy.
and she literally says she can never feel any emotions from them. So she's been
Yes.
uneasy about them since forever,
Yeah.
since she's had her powers. So anyways.
Yeah. So he's saying, no, like we always learn, the Ascended technically won this war. And so they've wiped out what's really happened from the histories. So really what Hawke is saying, he's really Castile, he's the prince, he's the dark one. His brother's been captured by the Ascended, which is why he wanted Poppy to like barter to get him back. But basically the Atlanteans are these immortal godlike vampire beings, and they don't feed on mortals, they feed on each other, which I love the
Mhm.
idea of that. And they blend into society really well. They can, you can't tell who they are. Like Poppy didn't know he was Atlantean, what have you. Whereas the Ascended are this offshoot of the Atlanteans. They're
They're
made from
they're
the Atlantean blood, pretty much.
yes,
They're
they were like
created.
yeah, they're vampires that were like they were like accidentally made or like a
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's explained as like other Atlanteans were making them. It came from like this king who was in love with
Mhm.
his mistress, and
Yeah.
it turns into this big war. His queen, the rightful queen, and then it
Mhm.
turns into this war. Like there's this, disagreement about all this, and that the Cravens are actually created from the Ascended by the Ascended, feeding on humans and not killing them. So if they just bite them and leave them alive, they turn into these like zombie vampires. And Hawke / Castile also says that, which we didn't mention, but one of the things mentioned is anytime you have a baby in the kingdom, the second and third borns have to be given to the Duke and Duchess, the king and queen. And they're told they go to the temple to work for the gods, but they're never seen again. And he's like, no, the Ascended have to feed on humans. They're literally taking these babies because they take them when they're like a year old, I think, right?
Mhm.
And they just eat them, which was horrifying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, and so that's part of why like the
Mhm.
dissenters have kind of formed because they're like upset that their children are being taken
Yeah.
and no one's ever seen these third and fourth
Yeah.
sons and daughters. They're like,
Mhm.
but yet they're supposed to be devoted to this faith to this kingdom and stuff. And so they're slowly
Mhm.
like learning about the actual history of this country, this kingdom and stuff, and they're realizing that their kids are dead. They're not actually alive and like you said, working for the
Mhm.
for the kingdom and stuff. And so it's really sad. Um, but
Mhm.
again, she doesn't want to believe any of this.
Yeah, she doesn't want to believe it. She, and which we didn't mention, a part of the reason she doesn't want to believe it is that she has a brother who is already ascended, who she hasn't seen. So then she's like, this can't be true because then my brother would be eating these children too. And Hawke is like, yeah, then Hawke tells her that how the Ascended are even created is that they imprison Atlantean and because you have to have Atlantean blood to ascend. Obviously, the Ascended can't make them.
Mhm.
So he's telling her that he was imprisoned. He knows this is true because they had him for a while and was using his blood, and also basically saying he was, used in other ways, which was terrible by these terrible people. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's
But
just a lot.
Sorry, that's also just like hinting at like you said, kind of because he wants to trade her for his brother. Because his brother's the true heir of the Atlantean kingdom. It's not him, even
Yeah.
though he's technically like whatever the dark one. And so now she's like dealing with the fact that like, not only is she betrayed, she like, loves him, whatever. He's the dark one, he's Atlantean, all this other stuff. But now she's like, okay, is he gonna like trade me? Like he just wants me alive. He might kill me, but he just wants me alive. And now he's going to like take me down to like like Macedonia, whatever the capital is. Take me to the capital and then trade me for his brother because and like what are the Ascended gonna do? They're just gonna like they might kill me, they might use me, like and so like I said, it's kind of like hinting at like the next books, like is that what she's gonna be used for now? Or um like we haven't talked about the ending yet, but like I think that's really interesting to be like, okay, what are they gonna do with the other prince? What are they gonna do with her in the future? And yeah.
Well, then it also, I don't know if you guys picked out, but then as he's explaining all this, I'm like, but why do they want her so bad? Like, there's got to be a reason that they want her so bad. And even Hawke is like, there's got to be a reason because technically you survived a Craven attack, but you're this mortal girl. Like, why is it so important? But I just want to throw in there, once all this comes out, she gets free. She fucking stabs him in the heart, like to legit kill him.
She's such a bad bitch, man. She's like, I don't care. I'll kill everybody.
I don't care that you're Atlantean. I'm still going to kill you. It doesn't kill him, obviously. This was probably my favorite scene. They have this like weird makeup, I don't like you sex in the woods. And it's everything. Like I loved it. It was great. It was so great. But then after this happens towards the end of the book, so like we're getting dropped all these bombs. Like he's the dark one, they send it her bad, blah, blah. Well, then it's like when they had this fight where she stabbed him in the heart, he got mad right before they had sex and he bit her neck, like to feed on her, which remember, Atlanteans don't really do that. They don't need to feed on humans. They feed on each other. And then he's like, she has Atlantean blood. Like that one I did not necessarily see coming.
I know. He could taste.
I didn't see it either.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, he ends up revealing that because then they go to dinner afterwards. And
like you do after a scene like this.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, you would be hungry too.
They go to dinner with all of like his people, his guards, his like woven tribe, whatever you want to call it. And he reveals that, yeah, she has Atlantean blood. And then also reveals that they're going to Atlantia because they're going to go get married. Because that is where and how you have to get, like, you have to be on that soil in order to have like a proper marriage. And so she's like, what? What? Like, she's like, how am I like Atlantean? Like, my parents were mortals. Like, she's like questioning this. And he's like, well,
clearly not.
Clearly not.
Your
Poppy.
mama was lying. Your mama was lying.
So yeah, I'm super excited for book 2. Like
I am too.
It just ends crazy. I just love the last line where he says, "We go home to marry my princess," and it's like she is gonna be a fucking princess. Like he ain't lying about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Just everything else he lied about, but not that.
Yeah, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I really liked his character because I felt like obviously he couldn't tell her about like who he was.
No.
Like he's literally in a castle with the Ascended and that's like his enemy. But I really liked his character because I felt he, besides that, was really authentic about like how he felt about her and his intention. I say all this and it's like he was really authentic about his intentions, but he was lying about what he was there to do. But I really did feel like he was like her biggest supporter. Like even though she, she's this maiden, she's supposed to be, behind this veil, behind closed doors, not supposed to do all this stuff. And again, like I wrote all these notes about specifically him. And My biggest thing about him that I wrote was he like lets her make her own decisions for everything. Like he's her guard. He's supposed to be protecting her, not letting her do stuff. And you know, she's obviously been attacked multiple times, and yet he finds out that she's been training, that she, you know,
Mm-hmm.
clearly escapes multiple times from her room, and yet instead of like, you know, trapping her and keeping her from going out and doing stuff, he's like, okay, you know, you can have this, you know, little dagger, and you know, I'll let you do this, and you know, but like tell me where you're going. Or he, you know, he just wants to be in the loop about kind of where she's going, what she's doing, and almost kind of like enforce like or enables her. You know, he goes out with her and stuff. And so I like it versus like I said, kind of trapping her,
Mm-hmm.
clearly he has feelings for her and stuff like that. But his first duty, which a couple of times you see that, is like protecting her, right? That's what
Yeah.
you do, is protect her. She is very valuable and stuff. And so it almost reminded me of Rhysand from ACOTAR, where instead of like, yeah, just like cinching and hindering, you know, Feyre,
Mm-hmm.
like in order to help her blossom and be who she's gonna be, because she's gonna be a badass, she's gonna do what she wants to do and almost rebel. If you really do care about this person, love this person, like you're gonna let them like lead their lives, and okay, what better way
Mm-hmm.
of helping to protect them and make sure they're safe and gonna get out of these attacks or battles, is like making sure that they know how to protect themselves, making sure they know what's coming for them, and it also endears you to them because they know that you do care, and that you have their back, you have their support and stuff. So yeah, I felt like it was a really good trait that he took on, made me really like him. So,
Yeah.
He's a great character.
He
I
is.
act
Yeah.
I have oh sorry, did you have more, Chanel? Am I cutting
nope,
you
that
off?
was just
Well, this kind of goes into that because almost everything I highlighted in this book was stuff that he said because I just loved his character so much. But one of my favorite quotes from the whole book is when Poppy reveals her face to him for the first time, like when they're all in the office when he becomes his guard. And the Duke is just being like a total
Mm-hmm.
dick and it's pretty
yeah.
much like she's ugly, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the quote: Hawke's gaze remained fastened on mine as he stepped forward. Both halves are as beautiful as the whole. Talking about her face because one side is scarred from like the attack or whatever. You just like, he, like Chanel said, he's, even though he is technically lying, he really is so authentic. Like
Mm-hmm.
You could tell.
yeah, I loved it so much. What was the other one?
Well, I think it's just like what you said and Chanel said is she's so good at writing these complex characters. It's not just cut and dry. Like he's a liar. It's like, okay, he's not being truthful, but for the important parts of this relationship, like Ashley said, he's being authentic to himself, to her where he can. And so I love that it's
Right.
not cut and dry, right? Yeah.
As much as he can.
Yeah, as much as he can.
I like this is a quote that I had. So they're coming back from the willow tree, and this is where they meet up with Victor. And I don't know why I just liked this, because I guess I liked it even though I'm I don't I liked it because I felt like it was him standing up for the relationship, I guess, but also
Mm-hmm.
in in this particular instance, he was still like acknowledging her, even though Poppy's very flustered because Victor and Hawke are like having this stand down, right? Like right before the castle. And so Victor's like, I'll promise you this. It'll be over my dead body before you spend another moment alone with her. And so Hawke is like kind of smirking, and he's like, you know, she thinks of you as a father, and it would hurt her greatly if something unfortunate were to happen to you. And so Victor's like, is that a threat? And Hawke's like, I'm just letting you know that's the only reason I'm not making your promise come true this very second. But you need to step back. If you don't, someone's gonna get hurt, and that someone won't be me. Then Poppy will get very upset. He turned to me, and that's the sixth time that I've said it. And I was like, because they're talking about how many times he said her name. And I was like, just in that little moment, not only is he confronting Victor, but he's like acknowledging Poppy. He's like, that's the sixth time I've said it. He's like, and I don't want to see her upset. So step the fuck back. And like I said, he's like defending the relationship, but he's also being super tender with her. He's like, that's the sixth time I've said it. And then he goes, now step the fuck back. And he's like, I don't know, I just thought, I was like, that's so
I
cute.
loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
Speaking of, I have one more quote I want to read.
Mhm.
It's kind of the same lines, just about like how like authentic and caring and sassy he can be, but when they're fighting together for the first time before she thinks he knows who she is. This is what he says when he has a conversation when she's like using a bow and arrow like on these craven that are attacking the walls. The last thing I expected was to find a hooded lady with a talent for archery manning one of the battlements. The dimple made an appearance in his right cheek, and I felt a tug low my stomach. And I was just like, they just like loved each other from the beginning. I love it. He's just so in awe of her all the
Yeah.
time. I love it.
I mean, it's just great because this is a part of her personality that she's hidden from everyone pretty much except Victor, that she can fight, that she's strong, and she lets him see it and he just loves it. So I was rooting for, even though I knew something was off just from their interactions, I was rooting from him from the beginning. Like, yeah,
Even though there was some red flags, we still wanted it.
still wanted it.
Yeah. What are you rating this book?
Yes.
I'm giving a 5. Woo, woo,
Bow, bow,
5.
bow.
And the spice?
5. I mean,
The
honestly,
spice was so good.
it was great. I just love it when it's balanced so well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was in the beginning just enough to like get a taste that you knew there was going to be more in it. You know what I mean? And then we get a little bit more and then she would pull back and then we get a little bit more and then we got the full course. And then that whole like they're mad at each other scene in the woods was like the nail in the 5 coffin, like 5 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you're totally right. It was excellently balanced. And then there was like just great like tension just throughout as
Yeah.
well. Because I also liked kind of at the end, after he drinks her blood, she's like also like, just begging for it.
Begging.
And he's like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. But then at that they were mad at each other, or she was mad at him, I guess, because she had just found out all those things. And he's like, I am trying to be a good man. I'm not going to
Not
do
gonna do
anything
it.
to you. He's like, because the next time we are going to be together and we will be together, he's like, I don't want you like to be mad at me or to like be impaired in any way, like drugged with my blood or whatever. So
Yeah.
so I felt like that was some good tension as well, even though it was at the end of the book and they had already done other stuff. So I was like, ooh, okay, like I like just leaved you wanting more, even though like I said, it was whatever the last 15, 20 pages, so yeah, thought it was good.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah,
Loved it.
yeah,
Amazing.
we liked it. It was a good book.
Can't wait to read the rest of the series.
Yeah.
You guys are welcome. This was my book choice, so you're so welcome.
I saved a TikTok on I guess there's reading orders that people have put out like with this and the other one. So I think I might have sent it to you guys, but I saved it so you know the order to
I
read
know.
the series.
I definitely need to save that actually, and we should repost it on our social media.
Oh yeah, I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys so we can repost it.
Yeah, because you don't read book 2, like you go to the Flesh and Fire series next. So so you're right. But yeah, it's a great book, great series. And yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We got to do some kudos now.
Yeah.
Some kudos.
Yeah.
I'll go first, if that's okay. I have 2 kudos. First of all, my first one is for you guys, obviously. Because I love you guys and I just love being able to spend this time with you guys and have our book club, and it's just something to look forward to. And then my other kudos is for like my evening shift work family and some people who also aren't on evening shift that we include. But yesterday we had we did a pickle peddler, which is kind of like, I don't know, like this big giant booze cruise on bikes, like the motorized little, things that go around downtown. and a girl from work organized it. She's an angel for doing it. And it just ended up being so much fun. And it's like, it's so nice to hang out with everybody outside of work for a change. So it was just a
Yeah.
really nice little treat. And you guys know it's so hard to like plan free days with people.
Yeah.
So like we'd been planning this for months to find a day that everybody could do it together. So it just really came together and it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
I love all my friends.
Nice. Very fun. Go ahead, Stace.
Yeah. So obviously I want to do my kudos to you beautiful ladies. Always, always keeping me happy. Ashley got me coffee at work the other day. We got to catch up because we don't see each other a lot. And she came to see Ivy and Toby was sleeping, but it was always nice to visit. And just, earlier when Chanel brought me food, that was so nice. And she got to hang out with the babies and
Nice.
you guys make me feel like more than just a mom, like a normal human again when we hang out though. But I also want to kudos my mom because she came with Ashley to visit today and it was just good to see her. So yeah, it's been a really good day, a good chill fun day.
I was like, lots of visitors.
And we got to record. What a great
and we
day.
got to record and talk about this amazing book.
Like Vanna White.
I want a bookshelf like you guys. If you watch us on YouTube, you can see Stacey and Chanel have these like really beautiful bookcases. I don't have one.
Yeah,
So I'll just
and
hold it
Ashley's
up
just
here.
holding her book.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, obviously I love you guys and love hanging out with you. And it's so fun chatting about books, especially books that we like. Like when are we like shitting on a book? I don't know, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so kudos to you guys. And then kudos to my dad. He came out down here last weekend and we had lunch, so that was fun. And then he also came over and he cleaned. I was like, it always seems like my house is dirty, but I swear my house isn't dirty. He just is like, we're gonna deep clean your oven. I was like, okay.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah, that's so nice.
I know, it's really nice, but I was like, I wasn't gonna do that this Saturday, but okay.
But okay, let's clean this oven. Let's do it.
So thank you, Dad. He's such a like neat freak. So yeah, thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. So yeah, love him and love you guys. Thank you.
Yay. All the love.
All the love.
All the
Okay,
love.
guys. Well, make sure you check out this episode and our interview with Jennifer L. Armentrout, where we talk about this amazing book, Blood and Ash. Have a safe week and make sure you read what you like.